Let me share a simple truth with you, one that's as old as the soil itself. Success isn't born in a blaze of glory or a single stroke of lightning. It's more like planting a tree. You don't go to bed one evening and wake to find it standing tall, its branches heavy with shade and fruit, roots deep enough to weather any gale. No, sir. It starts with a seed, small, unassuming, dropped into the earth with a quiet promise. You water it when the sun beats down, feed it the right nourishment, and stand guard against the storms that try to uproot it before it can take hold. Day follows day, season chases season, and the growth, it's subtle at first, hidden from the eye, working its miracle below the surface. But give it time, real time, and that seed becomes a towering presence, a quiet giant that changes the whole landscape of your yard. I've spent a lifetime observing this, folks, in fields and in lives, and here's what I've come to know. Your life follows the same gentle rhythm. Those grand results, you dream of vital health that carries you through the years, relationships that feel like old oaks, rooted deep, financial ground that's solid under your feet. They don't arrive on a silver platter or in some overnight revelation. They grow from the soil of small, steady disciplines, the kind most folks walk right past in their hurry for something bigger and louder. Think on this for a moment. What if you committed to reading just 10 pages of a worthwhile book each day? 10 pages. Not a chapter that leaves you winded, not a whole library in a weekend frenzy. Just 10 pages, turned with care, like tending a young shoot. Do that faithfully for a year, and you've harvested over 3,500 pages, ideas that sink into your mind like rain into parched ground, building wisdom that gives you an edge sharper than any shortcut ever could. Imagine carrying that quiet advantage into your days, feeling it steady you when decisions press in. And that's just the beginning, my friend. Now, weave in another thread, the simple act of making your bed each morning, a small order brought to chaos, or setting aside a few dollars, not with fanfare, but with the resolve of a farmer saving seed for the next planting, or taking a 10-minute walk, letting your thoughts settle as your steps fall, even on the path. These aren't fireworks. They're the steady drip of water on stone. Alone, they seem like whispers in the wind, but together, they compound, multiplying in ways that surprise even the most patient soul. I've seen it time and again, folks, chasing the miracle, the instant cure, the lottery ticket to transformation. They overlook the real magic, which arrives not with trumpets, but on soft feet, through a string of small victories, each one earned in the quiet of the everyday. Every time you do what you said you'd do, even when no one's watching, you bank a win. Every time you turn from the temptation that pulls you sideways, a needless worry, a fleeting distraction, you claim another. Every investment in your craft, your circle of friends, or the temple of your body adds to the pile. And the wonder of it? These wins don't just add up. They accelerate, gathering speed like a river, finding its full current. But let me pause here and offer a word of gentle warning, because wisdom without balance is like a tree without roots. It topples in the first wind. This compounding force, so faithful a friend when you feed it, can turn adversary just as easily. A misstep in your routine here, an hour lost to idle drift there, a discipline set aside for just this once. These are the small leaks in the bucket, the unnoticed erosions that build like silt in a stream bed. They're not dramatic in the doing. They slip by with a shrug. Yet over the months, the years, they can bury your potential under a quiet mound of what-ifs and regrets. The real separator between a life that flourishes and one that merely endures isn't found in the big choices alone, the career leap or the bold risk. No, it's carved in the daily disciplines, the small wins you either nurture into a fortune or neglect into a debt, shaping your path one unhurried step at a time. So here's my invitation to you today. Take a breath, sit with this, and give those small wins the respect they deserve. You don't need a map drawn in gold or a strategy etched in stone to start. What you need is consistency, the calm art of showing up, day in and day out, honoring the details that others deem too trifling to notice. Because those very details, when allowed to compound like interest in a wise man's account, deliver harvests no frantic sprint could ever reap. Success, you see, isn't a lone event crashing across your horizon. It's a series of small triumphs, each one planted and tended with the patience of a gardener who knows the seasons turn in their own time. Lean into that knowledge and let the compounding do its silent, profound work. Now, let me pull up a chair and share a story that stuck with me over the years. One that illustrates this truth as plainly as the lines on my hand. There was a young fellow I crossed paths with once, back when life had him feeling like a ship without a rudder, dreams scattered, days blurring into one another. He didn't charge out to build an empire or rewrite his story in a single bold stroke. He began where the ground was softest. Every morning, he'd carve out 10 minutes to write down his goals, letting the ink capture what his heart was whispering. That was his first small win, simple as sunrise. From there, he added 30 minutes of reading each day, not to impress anyone, but to feed his mind like you'd feed a fire through a long night. Week by week, he layered in one more, a phone call to someone who might light the way, a quiet review of where his money was going, a walk after supper to let the day's weight settle. None of it rang with fanfare. Each felt like dropping a pebble into still water. But give it a year, 12 full turns of the calendar, and his world had shifted. Habits rooted deep, purpose stood clear, and life wrapped around him like a coat tailored just right. Small wins, folks, don't shout their arrival. They arrive, and then they stay. They build momentum, real momentum, the kind that starts slow but ends unstoppable. Picture rolling a snowball down a hillside on a crisp winter morn. At first, it clings to the earth, heavy and reluctant. Your push feels like labor lost, and the voice in your head wonders if it's worth the ache in your back. But keep at it steady, even and with each nudge, it picks up a whisper of speed, gathering snow, growing rounder, fuller. Soon, it's rolling on its own, tumbling faster, becoming a force that carves its path without apology. That's how it works in your life. Those early wins kindle a rhythm, a gentle pull that makes the next step lighter, the one after that almost inevitable. Once momentum takes hold, it carries you places intention alone never could. But momentum isn't conjured from wishes or well-meaning nods. It's forged in action, repeated, reliable, rooted in the bone. I hear it all the time from good people. Jim, I just don't have the hours right now to build myself up. And I'd smile and say, friend, you don't need hours snatched from the clock like a thief in the night. Improvement thrives on small, intentional gifts of time. 5 minutes at dawn to reflect on where you stand and where you're headed. 10 minutes with a book that stirs the soul. One call to a friend that mends a frayed thread. A few dollars slipped into savings like seed into furrow. These are the disciplines that, over the long haul, draw the line between the one who coasts and the one who climbs. What strikes me deepest, though, is how these wins don't march in a straight line. They curve, they compound, turning modest effort into something exponential, like roots spreading unseen until the tree defies the sky. One victory today opens the door to tomorrow's, and that one to the next, each building on the last like stories in a well-lived life. It's akin to money in the bank, earning its quiet interest while you sleep. Your labors multiply in the shadows, revealing their full measure only when you look back and marvel. The keys to unlocking this? Patience, my friend, the kind that sits easy in the saddle, and persistence, the resolve to keep riding when the trail bends. No one action flips the world on its head. No single day etches your legacy. But string them across weeks, months, years, and those small wins rise into a foundation strong enough to bear the weight of goals that once seemed as distant as the stars. The real work of a meaningful life, I've found, happens out of the spotlight in the small victories that others glance past, dismissing them as too humble to count. It's the disciplines the crowd calls insignificant, the ones done in solitude when no applause will come. Yet when you let them compound, they become the quiet divide, the bridge from a life adrift on whatever current carries it to one steered with purpose, hand on the tiller. So many make the mistake of pursuing the dramatic, the thunderclap change, the heroic leap, believing that's where the gold lies. They see success as a mountain peak, and they strain to vault straight to the top, arms flailing. But let me offer you this counterpoint, drawn from years of watching folks rise and fall. The The summit isn't claimed in jumps, but in steps careful, recurring, each one placed with trust in the path beneath. I've seen this play out more times than I can count, like chapters in a book you can't put down. Take a young professional I knew, chafing at his wages, feeling the pinch of unfulfilled promise. He didn't bet the farm on a wild scheme or wait for fortune to knock. He picked one skill, the very one that touched his daily work, and tended it like a plot of ground. A little practice each week, a new lesson absorbed without rush, an application woven into the ordinary tasks. Over time, he didn't just improve, he began to shine, quiet as dawn light on water, outpacing peers, not by outshouting them, but by outlasting. That steady refinement, it drew better assignments, steadier clients, promotions that unfolded like natural fruit. The compounding of those small wins carried him higher than any gamble or grace ever might have. And here's a layer that always moves me, because it touches the heart of who we are. These wins don't just build your outer world, they reshape the inner one. Each small triumph fans the flame of your confidence. Like adding wood to a fire on a cool evening, it strengthens your discipline, reinforces the whisper that says, what you do matters, even when it's small. Turn from it though, and that flame flickers. Each missed chance chips at the foundation, making the next choice a touch heavier. Think of it as training a muscle not with the barbell on day one, but with light reps, repeated until the strength lives in you. Small wins are those reps for the spirit. They fortify your focus, your will, the quiet consistency that turns boys into men and dreams into doings. Even more, they ripple outward, touching the soil around you. Folks notice consistency. You see not the loud boasts, but the steady walk. Your workmates sense the reliability. Your family feels the anchor. Your circle draws closer to the one who honors the small things. That perception, it compounds too, opening gates, opportunities, alliances, kindnesses that scatter like chaff when your steps falter. Now, we all know the human heart's pull toward the quick and the easy. It's wired that way, craving the harvest without the hoeing. The mind rebels at slow seasons, hungering for the sprint over the marathon. But success, in its wisdom, demands we learn to wait to sit with the unfolding, trusting the roots even when the branches seem bare. Those early wins may murmur rather than roar, but behind the veil, compounding works its patient alchemy. Remember that professional sharpening his edge, or a friend I knew who rebuilt a bond with small gestures of listening, or another who tucked away pennies month by month until they became a fortress. They all tasted that hidden quickening, time, the great equalizer, stepping in to multiply what the hand has sown. If you're out there waiting for the earth-shaking moment to realign your stars, let me suggest you might be looking past the very door that's open. Turn your gaze to the small wins instead. Master them with a craftsman's care. Revere them like heirlooms. Track them like a farmer notes the rain. Over the turning of days into seasons, they swell, they gather force. They lead you to a life that others sketch in envy from the sidelines. And the beauty? Wherever you stand this morning, high ground or low, you can plant the first seed today, setting a momentum that threads through every corner of your tomorrow. But knowledge without knees bent in action is like a seed left in the pocket. It never knows the Sunday. You can nod at compounding's grace all day long, yet if it stays a notion, your fields lie fallow. The crossing is in choosing the winds that stir your soul most, the ones that align with your deepest plowing, and claiming them here, now, not in some distant when the stars align. Let's take money, for instance, because I've watched so many wrestle this ground. Folks think saving calls for rivers of cash or the windfall from on high, so they linger, hands idle. But even a thimbleful, set aside with the rhythm of breath, grows into a granary. Picture this, $10 a week, tucked away without trumpet or tear. It's a whisper at the start, barely felt. But with discipline's hand and time's blessing, it swells a cushion against the lean years, a quiet grant of freedom that lets you stand taller. That's compounding whispering its secret. Restraint today, abundance unasked for tomorrow. The same holds for learning, that eternal harvest. You needn't chase the high-priced academy or the guru's golden word. 10 minutes of focused study, 5 days running builds a library in your mind no fire can touch. Skills stack like cordwood, ideas link like vines on a fence. Before you know it, you've a treasury of insight and know-how that outstrips the frantic learner's haul. And health? Ah, that's the richest soil of all. No need for the extreme fast or the Ironman's trial to till it. Start with one true seed, a 15-minute ramble to greet the air, an extra measure of water sipped with gratitude, a fresh green folded into your supper like a promise. Keep faith through the weeks. Let the months roll gentle. Energy rises like mist off the river. Your body answers with a nod. And momentum? It arrives unannounced, turning what was duty into delight. Small disciplines compound into a vigor you wear like a second skin. Yet here's the shepherd's crook I always hand out. You must mark your path, or the winds wander off like sheep in fog. Unnoted, they fade in memory's mist. Jot them down, check them like fences after storm. Celebrate in the heart's quiet hall. Each one logged renews the fire, cements the way. Compounding isn't sorcery, folks. It's the farmer's faithful ledger, hidden labor until the yield bows the stalk, then reshaping the whole field in a single season. This power? It's no aristocrat's birthright. It's the common man's crown, needing no silver spoon or lucky star. Just aim true, show up steady, and grant time its due. Name the actions that call to your blood, vow to them like oaths at dawn, and step back, let the earth do its part. The changes creep in sidelong, often when your guard's down, turning the humdrum into the hallowed, the possible into the once impossible. Of course, no road runs straight without ruts. Obstacles are the toll we all pay. Compounding sings sweetest in the even flow, but life, in its wisdom, sends the rains and the rocks to test the root. Small winds ask for a steady rain amid the pull discipline when the bones ache, resolve when the easy chair beckons. This is the fork where trails part. Many start strong, gather a handful of steps, then let the first bramble snag the thread. The quiet difference? It's in refusing the derail, in claiming the win despite the mud. Let me tell you of a writer I once knew, words burning in him like embers, but the page a blank stare. He set his stake, 300 words a day, no more, no less, like daily bread, not a feast. Some dawns it was siege, weariness heavy as dew, muses silent, the world tugging at sleeves. Still, he wrote, honoring the measure amid the mess. Months wheeled by, and the book stood whole not by flash or flawless skies, but by that dogged small win, repeated like heartbeat. Under pressure, you see, wins forge deeper. They compound with the grit of iron on anvil. A workout claimed when the bed calls louder gleams more than the breezy day. A coin saved through the unexpected squall outshines the surplus hour. Discipline in the squeeze? It multiplies the yield, because the world tips its hat to the one who stands when standing costs. Ponder the gift of such timing. The learner who hones amid the harvest rush reaps double in the quiet after. The friend who mends ties through the frost builds loyalties that thaw no winter. Every win wrested from trial, its fuel poured on the fire, speeding the roll where smooth paths slow it. See it clear as a winter stream. Compounding doesn't bargain for blue skies. It thrives in the tempering storm. The gulf twixt the wanderer and the wayfarer isn't barren ground, it's the winds seized in the thicket. The daily rites heaped silent until they crown the hill. I recall a leader fretting his team's frayed spirit, the air thick as dust. He began small, a morning word of genuine thanks, brief as breath. Some days, it echoed hollow eyes averted, shoulders shrugged, effort seeming spent on wind. He persisted, each one a seed in stubborn soil. Months on, the shift came soft. Spirits lifted, hands joined, fruits multiplied. One thread of faithful small winds rewove the whole cloth. Stones will strew every furrow, but compounding's promise holds. Persist, and each labor lays brick for a wall you can't yet trace. Treat those wins as sacred tithes to your unfolding tale. Miss the mark, and the hollow rings. Chain them true, and the unyielding rises in you. That's their deep leverage. Steadiness in the strain births results that humble the bold. So, when the headwind rises and rise, will you lean in all the same? Will you keep your word to the man in the mirror, even as comfort coos otherwise? For there, in the forge, small wins multiply like sparks on dry tinder, hammering momentum that hurtles toward horizons etched in others' longings. And mark this well, small wins know no borders. They spill from field to field. Money firms like clay in the kiln, health flows like spring-fed brook, bonds deepen like wells, growth climbs like morning glory. They all drink from this same well. The way is one. Spy the step, walk it true, let the gathering unfold. Its span matters, for it's no narrow lane. The self-same soil enriches trade, hearth, vigor, purse, and the soul's quiet acre. What abides is the patient mound, not the lone furrow's yield. The days reward the reliable, lifting the persistent like yeast in dough. Thus small wins even the acres. From any plot, any hour, they call forth crops that gift or genius alone couldn't till. Here's a gleaning worth pocketing. 10 wins, cross the spread, and the quickening doubles. Body's gain fuels the plow's pull. A tiry tide steadies the soul for sleet. A handful saved frees the hand for new seed. Compounding leaps the line. Arcs to plenty. One dawn's deed branches to dusk's bounty, each nourishing the grove. It returns as truths do, to the bedrocks. Reliability like the sun's rising, clarity like a lantern in gloam, forbearance like the oak in gale. The one who bows to the humble, who maps its creep, who bends not to brambles. That soul weaves a tale of soft thunder, not from one thunderclap, but from myriad measured strokes, piled through the kind turns of time. That, friends, is the heart of compounding, the common clay shaped to the uncommon vessel. Now we stand at the sower's choice, gentle as it comes. Each morn lays the question plain. Will you step to the furrow or let the weeds claim it? Will you sow the build or leave the ground to lie? Will you bind to the fine ways that summon the grand or bow to the shadow of swift remake? The span from idle stream to steady course hides in this day's unnoted labor. What stirs with your light? One lingers in the lamp's false glow, currents carrying. Another claims 10 minutes for the true north, goals retraced, aims affirmed, a hand extended to the morrow's self. That lone furrow ripples the field, shades the choices, forms the harvest, charts the cycle of sun and shadow. A dawn's humble claim outruns the noon's scattered swing. Ponder your heart's true yield. Riches that root, wholeness that holds, nearness that nurtures, becoming that beckons. They heed not the vault over hedge, but the even stacking of hands. The one who threads small wins through life's loom gathers a weave unbreakable. Clasp this close. Time rides with the reverent, but rides away from the tardy. So soon, and the yield multiplies. Delay, and the empty beds compound as barren. The dawdler's shadow steals in hush. Each unseized win yields the root of wonders unborn. Set forth this hour, and your gate gathers. Hesitate, and the far hills blur to haze. Your small wins, they're the etchings of eternity, the marks no season erases, the ways you walk, the kin you keep, the gates you greet. Compounding asks no parley, it graces the grinder of the wheel, quietly withholds from the wheelless. Every light tallies, every motion measures, every triumph tills the account of your abiding. So sit with it. Will you claim the ground this turning? Will you honor the seed in its seeming slight? Will you hold through the hush of the green? Your nod draws the morrow's line. Compounding lingers, ever wedding your ways to wonder. Choose deep, give full, walk now, lest the furrow close. As we rise from this talk, carry the kernel. Your years are the quiet ledger of gains and gaps, each sowing unseen until the bough bends with fruit. None can till for you, no sly path endures. The full measure, the firm stride, the wide reach, the free breath, they spring from the humble, habitual yield. It returns as truths do, to the bedrocks. Reliability like the sun's rising, clarity like a lantern in gloam, forbearance like the oak in gale. The one who bows to the humble, who maps its creep, who bends not to brambles. That soul weaves a tale of soft thunder, not from one thunderclap, but from myriad measured strokes, piled through the kind turns of time. That, friends, is the heart of compounding, the common clay shaped to the uncommon vessel. Now we stand at the sower's choice, gentle as it comes. Each morn lays the question plain: will you step to the furrow or let the weeds claim it? Will you sow the build or leave the ground to lie? Will you bind to the fine ways that summon the grand or bow to the shadow of swift remake? The span from idle stream to steady course hides in this day's unnoted labor. What stirs with your light? One lingers in the lamp's false glow, currents carrying. Another claims 10 minutes for the true north, goals retraced, aims affirmed, a hand extended to the morrow's self. That lone furrow ripples the field, shades the choices, forms the harvest, charts the cycle of sun and shadow. A dawn's humble claim outruns the noon's scattered swing. Ponder your heart's true yield. Riches that root, wholeness that holds, nearness that nurtures, becoming that beckons. They heed not the vault over hedge, but the even stacking of hands. The one who threads small wins through life's loom gathers a weave unbreakable. Clasp this close. Time rides with the reverent, but rides away from the tardy. So soon, and the yield multiplies. Delay, and the empty beds compound as barren. The dawdler's shadow steals in hush. Each unseized win yields the root of wonders unborn. Set forth this hour, and your gate gathers. Hesitate, and the far hills blur to haze. Your small wins, they're the etchings of eternity, the marks no season erases, the ways you walk, the kin you keep, the gates you greet. Compounding asks no parley, it graces the grinder of the wheel, quietly withholds from the wheelless. Every light tallies, every motion measures, every triumph tills the account of your abiding. So sit with it. Will you claim the ground this turning? Will you honor the seed in its seeming slight? Will you hold through the hush of the green? Your nod draws the morrow's line. Compounding lingers, ever wedding your ways to wonder. Choose deep, give full, walk now, lest the furrow close. As we rise from this talk, carry the kernel. Your years are the quiet ledger of gains and gaps, each sowing unseen until the bough bends with fruit. None can till for you, no sly path endures. The full measure, the firm stride, the wide reach, the free breath, they spring from the humble, habitual yield. Behold the one who chooses the rise over the glide, who guards the groat with grace, who turns pages like prayers, who lends a listening ear or a steady hand. Those turnings, soft as soil, swell to fortunes unfathomed, counsel unborrowed, kinships that outlast the oak. And the one who turns aside, who drifts on whim, awaiting the perfect plow, or the thunderous now watches the season's wheel. The furrows fill with forgotten seed. The plow's yours. Loose the reins to the wild, letting furrow form you, or grip them firm, forming furrow with faithful winds. Reliability turns the wheel. Resolve oils the gate. Time blesses the blade. Each dawn's sowing swells your stand. Each overlooked acre tilts the till against. So rouse. Name the true furrows. Vow to their call. Shield from the scatter. Hold them holy as hearth fire to your holding. Keep through moons and measures, spans and sowings, and watch as compounding crowns you anew. No star shot needed, no born bard invoked. Only the long hold, the patient hand, the eye for the overlooked glean. This day, break the first ground. Name one way, one rhythm, one route for the rising. Walk it, renew it with the light. Each echo enriches, each wheeling hastens the whole. The hold you harbor, it's no heaven's whim, it's your sworn stewardship of small yields. Your tomorrows wait, furrowed by this breath's grace. Vow, hold, harvest, and let compounding lift you to lands once but longed for in the heart's quiet field.